Welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the lunch break and the sunshine. Next up, we have a very exciting guest that literally just flew in back from San Francisco, where she was last week at the Config and held a speech. So we're thrilled to have her with us today. The speech is going to be around 25 minutes. I just want you to know that on the sides you have the QR code. So if there are any questions that come up, you're more than welcome just to upload them over there. And then later on, I will use the last 5 minutes to make sure that these get answered. And if you're a freelancer and wonder, how can I actually be profitable and have a business whilst just doing it all by myself, then I think our next speaker is the right person to introduce you more to that. Christine has her own company called Moonmate. So welcome on stage, Christine Vallaure. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for coming after lunch. I know it's a hard one. So I'm Christine, and I run an online learning platform called Moonlearning, where I teach about UI design, Figma, and how to align all of that with code. And it's pretty straightforward. It's an online platform. You get a membership, and then you can just sign in to any of the pre-recorded courses, and you can take that and learn in your own time. And it started as a little side project in like 4 years ago, and it's grown nicely, and by now there are a few thousand students across the globe. And before I dive in deeper, I'd like to give you a little look at our headquarters, because they're actually quite impressive. So here we go. So I know, didn't spend a lot of money on them. So here we have the recording studio, design over there, development, post-production, client services, accounting, and strategy and marketing. We also offer great perks. For example, bring your kids to work days, more than you would ever ask for. And during pandemics, we also offer co-working with your spouses, whether you like that or not. So you might have guessed it, it's really not some big fancy startup. It's just me on a very, very small, tiny desk in the corner of my home. And it started like that out of necessity during the pandemic. And I really became to like this idea of staying small and lean on purpose. I actually became such a fan of this way of working that I wrote an entire book on this called Solo, How to Build, Launch and Grow Your Digital Products. And it's really a guidebook to do this whether you code or you don't. Because if you think about it, this is really the first time in history that this is possible. And we're getting quite used to this part here, so the digital products part, building products, using modern technology and adapting to that really quickly. But I think the part that we give very little attention to is this part, the on your own part. Because with this shift in technology that we're seeing, we're not only changing what we can build, but we can also change the way in which we build these things. And I think that this is opening doors for all of us, freelancing, having a side project or working on these projects full-time, that we never even thought that we could build a product or that we could run a small company on our own. So I found my happy place in something called solopreneurship, and to be honest, I didn't even knew that existed. And I want to tell you a little bit how this all happened, because as most of these things happen, it happened by chance. So I started off as a UI freelancer, actually right here in Berlin. And when companies and startups, when they booked me, there was a design team and there was a development team. Actually, do we have designers and developers? If you give me a hand show. See, it's Berlin, isn't it? So you know the next thing that's coming. A lot of the time I found myself in this little area operating here. And it's the area where designers and developers try really hard not to kill each other. So it's really an area that's full of friction and full of problems the whole time. But when you operate in that area, it's also an area that's really full of solutions and full of findings. And what I like most about it, you really start understanding each other's tools, and you start understanding why things go wrong and what you could improve. So when the pandemic hit, and I found myself with a little more free time on my hands than I would have wished for, I put these findings in an online course. And this is actually the thumbnail of the very first course I ever created. I put that course online, and within a few weeks it went viral, and I could literally just live off that one course. So that's really nice that you believe everything people say on a stage, because that never happened. So I'm not sure if you're like happy about that or disappointed, because I know we like these stories, right? It's so effortless, you do this thing and it just works. But I want to tell you what actually happened, because it was this. It was very slow and steady organic growth. The more I put in there, the more I saw happening, but very, very slowly and over time. But I noticed that this area I was working in, that I found very interesting, was actually very useful for others as well. And so I created more content around that, because as designers, we're always a bit stuck in the middle, and so understanding what's happening left and right really helps your new work, and it really helps you to create better products. But most important, what happened is that for the first time in my life, I got up in the morning and I was really, really excited to go to work, because I really enjoyed polishing that product and working on that product further. And the thing is, I also really enjoyed my freelancing work, but I noticed that something that I had been missing all the time is creating really a product and carrying on working on that product and it being my product and me making the decisions. But what also happened is that people started asking questions as they saw that this was growing and there were financial returns coming. And they always ask the same questions. So are you going to hire people now? Are you going to turn this into a real company? And at places and events like this, they started introducing me as a founder. And I had very mixed feelings, and I still actually do have very mixed feelings about that word. Because on one hand, I was like, I'm not a founder, I'm a freelancer. I like making these things at my small little desk, and I'm really happy if people enjoy them. But on the other hand, I also felt flattered, because it was this big buzzword, this important thing, and people saw me as one of them. And I sort of had the urge that maybe I can be one of them. So I looked a little bit more into what it meant to be a founder. And they were really nice. They're getting the wrong idea. And they were like, and I was like, hi, I'm Christine and I'm an accidental founder. And they're like, come in, give you a place at the table. And then they were like, not that place, Christine. I was like, oh, sorry, I'm just go back there. And jokes aside, I did look into this, but all I saw being glorified around me was the idea of the funding, the growth, and the end goal that was always the exit. And now don't get me wrong, I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think a lot of products really need that. A lot of teams, a lot of things, if you want to build that, you need the funding, you need the growth, and if you make the exit, then I hope you're happy with it. But the thing is, someone's laughing at this, that's a great note. So the thing is, though, the product that I was building, it didn't need all of that. And to be honest, I don't think I would be a particularly good setup for this. But what I think happens is that if we only show this one idea and this one idea of building, then we start seeing only light that this is the only possible way to build a product, to lead a company, to have a startup. And then what happens is that we start molding ourselves to this idea if we want to carry on with our product. But just because you can make yourself fit in, it doesn't mean that you're in the right place. And if you're not in the right place, then you'll never fully thrive, and neither will your product. And I believe that we're missing out on a lot of great ideas and a lot of great people to create products and to lead companies, but people ending up being played stuck in the gutter when they really don't have to anymore. Because with the shift in technology, we can open up the spectrum. And we're not losing out on anything, but there are so many more ways now to build, especially for all of you already being freelancers. This could be a full-time way, this could be something part-time, this could be something related to your work, or something completely new. In the end, it is about feeling that sense of agency. And that is this feeling of independence, to have control over your work and your career. Actually, a little side note. I'm German, I'm not an English native, so I never knew the word agency. I thought it was advertising agency. I didn't know this was the definition of agency, actually. And it actually became my favorite word. It's like someone gave me a word for a feeling I had, and I didn't know how to express it. You might now be thinking, if she's German, why the hell is she doing a talk in English? So there are a few reasons. The first one is because I sound really much more international if I do. The second one is, I heard a lot of you, I was asked because a lot of you are non-German speakers. And the other one is I translated my slides and then this happened. So it's Handlungsmacht, die Fähigkeit, unabhängige Entscheidungen zu treffen und die Kontrolle über die eigene Arbeit und Karriere zu übernehmen. And that sounded really scary. So we're going to stay with the fluffy agency, okay, for now. Now, where that agency happens for you, I don't know. That's very, very different, and it's really important. My story is probably not going to fit for all of you, but you're going to be somewhere over here. And I want to tell you about my story, where I found my agency. It's a quieter way of building. It's maybe a more humble way of building, but it can be a really rewarding way. Oops, sorry, I've said that twice. So, because I believe if you want to build a digital product in this time of age, all that you need is you need to reframe the idea in your head of what it means. You need to build the thing, and you need to grow it. That sounds really simple, and for a lot of products it can really be. So let's start with the reframing. So that we take as like a sort of little side thought, but it's really important. If you want to change that story in your head, to flip that script, then your head really has to go with you. Because what if you build a product, full or part-time, that you enjoy making so much, that gives you stable financial returns, and that fits so well into your life that it scales with you and not away from you? Then you probably never want to sell that product. And then suddenly time and not funding is your most important asset. In my days, they used to look like this. Anyone could jump into my calendar and just put a meeting in there. And now I don't function so well in between those meetings. That's just how my head works. I'm a designer. I can't make good quality products. I like that. This is usually a slide people take most pictures of. I think it is. I can't make good quality products in these tiny little time slots that I was left with. So for me, the right solution was to be by myself, to get rid of the politics, to get rid of the Slack channel, the emails, all of that, and just return to this joy of making things. And I think that's something that we really have deeply inside of us, and I think it's why a lot of us became freelancers. And to be honest, I had completely forgotten about this joy that I find in actually having a product because of organizing the organization the whole time. When you work like this, it's not like you're in a constant state of flow. You need to have the mindset of, I'm going to figure it out, because problems arise all the time, really all the time. There's no tech team, there's no HR, there's nobody to ask. You have to dig in, you have to do the research, you have to call these client services over and over again. But I believe that this is also the place where your confidence happens, that you can build this and that you can run something on your own. It's like you're having this little proof of concept every day that you can do this. And I think this is a really beautiful and powerful place. When you work like this, you don't have money to do market research, to write business plans. You make something that you think is going to work, you publish it and you see what happens. And sometimes nothing happens and you figure out why nothing happens. And you really have to go with the flow with this. And I personally found that the most tricky part, because I am not someone who just goes with the flow and sees what happens. I like to control things and to put them into boxes. And so not all of these things are just going to come natural. The obvious one is, when you work like this, there is no team. And for some of us, this is great. And for some of us, this doesn't feel right. And you have to be aware of that. But what I find when I talk about these things, usually people come afterwards and they quietly whisper and they say, I really hate working in a team. And it's really strange, because it's like we're having this stigma that if we don't function well in a work team, if that's not our ideal, then there's something wrong with us. Because we see teams like this, and I worked in teams like this, and they're wonderful, and I want to carry on in working in these teams. But sometimes teams, they can feel like this, and that's also okay to be said. And if you're someone that functions better on your own, focusing on their product, then it's fine to just feel that and embrace that. It doesn't mean that you're living in isolation. I don't. I'm at conferences like this. I have great partners, some are across the world that I talk to. And I have a lot of social life in my free time, but I prefer just working and focusing on this like by myself. But it's really important to understand how we tick. And also, if being on your own is something really terrible, then you could just twist it and have like a small team. There are so many different ways. When you're working like this, you also have to change the idea in your head what profit means, like how do you make money with this? Because we're always told to look at the revenue, but you cannot compare yourself with a funded startup. The number that you're going to look at is the profit margin. And in a lot of one-person companies, that profit margin is way above 90%. The reason is that if we build like this, we don't want another expensive hobby. And with today's technology, we can build things really, really cheaply. So you can keep this cost really low building tech product on your own. And so even though that growth is very, very small, it is all yours to keep. So this is an example of what it costs me actually to run Moonlearning. 324 euros, that's it. Some variable costs on the side, obviously. But that's pretty much it. That's nothing. You can build very cheaply, so you can make a lot of financial sense to having these products as well. Now, the building it. Digital product, big word, could be anything. And especially as you all come from different disciplines, it's going to mean something else. Could be a downloadable product, could be a course, it could be a newsletter. There are so many different ways that you could do these products. I feel very strongly about one thing, and that is that whatever you build, if you want to be a company of one, then own the core. Don't outsource the heart and the soul of your product. I see that all the time. People get a bit of money together, they get an expert, usually a developer, to build the product, they take it back on, and then they run it. And you can do that, but you're giving away all your power of being small and agile and in control. So how could we do it? Well, if you know how to code, that's an easy one. You can just set up your own product. But even if you don't, if you want to learn how to code, you can dig in. You're at the right time and age. There are fantastic tools out there. I personally am not a developer. I do write a little bit of CSS usually, but with Cursor, I can create products that I could not have created before. A word of caution is this is not the right approach for every product. We're talking about very simple products when we're building as a company of one. If you say, I really don't want to code, then you can use no-code solutions, and they're also fantastic. Figma just last week launched 2 new no-code solutions that are absolutely great. And the thing is, for example, Moonlearning, I run that entirely on a no-code platform. You can, if you're taking pictures, it's all in the book, by the way. So I run Moonlearning entirely on a no-code platform. And that gives me time to focus on building the courses and the content. And it also gives me, for example, security, because if you're dealing with people's data, you also want to make sure that you know that there is, a layer of control. So sometimes we frown upon these no-code solutions, but they're actually quite powerful and they're becoming better and better. So whatever you want to build, have a look. Someone might have already built a tool for you to do so. When you build like this, your product is going to be simple. There are no bells and whistles. It's literally MVP for life. But that's great because that means you're going to be really, really fast. You can pivot overnight if you see anything happening. You can change right away. You're also going to notice something that I call satellite products appearing. So as you start launching a small product, you see that suddenly people become interested in the most random things you never even thought of. And maybe the biggest idea you ever had, actually nobody cares. So launch fast, small products, simple products, and then you can react to this. So you're going to end up probably with a little mini portfolio of things happening that you cannot plan that out. These things just happen. And it's also great because it also means that things level out. When something isn't doing so well, something else might pick up. Things that you didn't think were going to do well, suddenly someone picks up. So it's a really nice and dynamic field to work like this. So for me, how this happened is Moonlearning, that's still my main product. But then people became really interested in why I don't hire. And then I wrote the Solo with all the tools and all the things inside of it. And while I wrote Solo, I was digging into these new coding tools. And suddenly I noticed I can do so much more than I could before. And so currently I'm building Pretty Cheap Houses, which is a platform that uses AI and image recognition to find affordable homes for renovation across Europe. So when you had that, we had the reframe that to build it, you want to grow the thing. So how can you do that if you're not one person? Well, the important part is that your product decouples time and money, and this is why freelancing as we know it, that wouldn't work. So you could pair this with a product that you can decouple that, because what you can do then, if you can automate it. Now, the automation, that sounds always a bit mean, but all we're doing is we're going back to this thing, to freeing our time to really building. It's our product. Again, if you know how to code, then that's an easy one. You can set this up. But even if you don't, I use, for example, Zapier for everything. It's really powerful. You can connect different apps. There are other apps that, different APIs, sorry. There are other tools that can do that. So you set a trigger. For example, a student makes a payment. Then I can sign in the student in one platform. I send data to another platform. I send a newsletter. And you can trigger all of these things with one automation, and it will fulfill the tasks. So you don't need to write code. These tools are really, really great. If you want to grow, then you can use AI. I can see you rolling your eyes, and I'm with you. So I want to be very short to explain what I mean by that, because it is going to be a big part of this, whether you like it or not. That was my favorite movie when I was little, Back to the Future. And my favorite scene, watching it from today's point of view, is when Marty McFly flies to the future, and there are all these fax machines. That's how live communication in the future worked like. I really like that, because usually at conferences in the US, people laugh a lot. In Germany, you're like, I have to send that fax to my Krankenkasse tomorrow. So you're like, yeah. Anyways, the thing is that the AI, this is how we looked at live communication in the 80s. That's how we imagined it. So anything I'm going to show you, my AI is just a fax machine. There is nothing you haven't seen before. There's nothing crazy futuristic. But you're going to see what a huge difference it makes to me just being myself. So the LLMs, and by the way, I wanted to say, I'm just showing you how this helps me to grow. I'm not talking about any ethical concerns. They're surely there, but it's not the topic of today's talk. So the LLMs, I don't create my content with them, but they help me to be really fast. Writing a book, I'm dyslexic. It's really hard for me to write. I really enjoy writing, but there was a lot of shame attached to that, so I always needed someone to correct it. So I can write now in my voice and in my way, and I have an assistant to help me, but I still keep my voice and I still keep my content. When you're operating like this, you're going to be operating in niche markets. You can't compete with the big players. And in these niche markets, probably people are going to speak different languages that you don't speak. Or you might not be speaking English, or might be a bit nervous about your accent, and then you can use these tools to help you. So what I do is I have my videos in English, that's my original content, and then I translate it with AI. And the translation is actually, the tricky part is that it keeps the sentence length, for example, in English and German, the same length, so it fits the video. So it rewrites that for me, still making sense. My voice, my personality, it's a big part of the courses. So I want to keep that, so you have the same experience and all. So in the background, it clones my voice. And again, this is my content, this is my voice, so it makes sense. So I want to show you what that looks like. So this is the original content in English. Oh, it's a bit loud. Thank you.
Did you know that you can link Figma to a spreadsheet and not only pull in real information, but also swap components and instances? Let me show you.
And then this one here would be the fully Spanish AI generated, so voice and everything.
¿Sabías que puedes vincular Figma a una hoja de cálculo y no solo extraer información real, sino también intercambiar componentes e instancias? Deja que te lo enseñe.
So in this way, it's really, and you can really quickly reach these markets as well. Another example I want to show you. So I said I have all of these courses, but I want you to be very free in the way that you're studying. So sometimes you jump in a course, and I don't know if you missed something or how good you're with Figma. And so and there's other things. I have like articles, I have videos. So there's this whole universe that I created, how I, Christine, want to teach UI design in Figma to you. But when you're in the course, it's a very linear experience. So what I wanted to do is, I already have the voice cloning from the other thing I did. So I'm currently working on this, that I have sort of a little chatbot, and you can interact with me. So you can just speak to me and ask questions. So this is a little mock-up what this might look like. Oops, sorry, let me go back.
So it's important that we then use all these styles and variables in our components.
What is a Figma component?
A component is a reusable design element that can be used across multiple designs for easy updating. We covered this in video 4:2:11. You might have missed it. Do you want me to play it again? And I also have a more detailed article about this topic you might like.
So, it's nothing you've never seen before. It's some voice cloning. It's a chatbot. But I'm just experimenting and seeing how it goes and how it works. And these small little tools really make a difference to some. I could have never done this 5 years ago. So if you now say, I like that, I think I want to have a little digital product as well, but what on earth am I going to be building? By the way, Christoph Niemann, my favorite illustrator ever. There is usually two kinds of people, so I'm just going to put that down. I think I moved it. Sorry. Okay. The ones that say, I have no idea at all what I could do, and the others that say, my idea is so brilliant, I'm not going to tell you because you're going to steal my idea. Now, for the brilliant ones amongst you, I have bad news. There are 8 billion people in the world. The chances that someone already had your idea and even executed that idea is very high. And that's the good news for the uninspired ones amongst you. It doesn't matter. Just build anything. Get this idea out of your head that you're going to be the best. You don't even have the money to be the best. I don't make the world's best UI courses. Well, maybe I do, but And think of it more like books. If you go to a bookstore, you don't say, hello, I would like to purchase the world's best book, please. You go in there and you have a look around. There's something that resonates with you. And if all of us go to a bookstore right now, all of us are going to come out with a different book. And if you think about that, that's really, really beautiful and powerful. Because it means that whatever you build, if you build it well, if you build a good quality product, there is going to be an audience out there somewhere. The tricky part is finding that audience. And even if you do, it's the internet. So here is 2 reviews I got, same day, real screenshots. The first one says, this is a well-organized course that is delivered in a professional manner. I feel confident to start designing in Figma now. Also, I must say the teacher has an incredibly soothing voice. Thank you. She's a great teacher, but she could also have a career doing voiceovers. Second one, the voice sounds fake, like an Alexa voice. Very annoying. Also, the pacing of the lessons is very slow. If there's a bug, I fix it. If there is something I got wrong, I make it better. If there is people that really enjoy my product and find it useful, and there are others that it's not made for them, I focus on the ones that enjoy the product and I build for them. And that, I noticed, works quite well in life in general. There's no secret formula. I wish I could give it to you. It's really about taking all of these tiny steps. It's about writing the articles, making the YouTube video, finding the channel that works for you. It's high-quality products the way that you would like to consume them. And it's just these tiny little steps that will bring you to visibility. At least that's the only way I found. I have no growth hacking. I have no clickbait. I just make stuff, and I hope it resonates with people and it helps them, and it actually worked quite well. So that was my story, my little ray of light. I hope you enjoyed it. As I said, I don't know where you are on all of this. Maybe you're already in your happy place. But if you ever feel like this, like your plate stuck in the gutter, and if you have the luxury to choose your work, then please use it, because it's a privilege. And if you can build that product, if you feel an urge to do something, then try it. The generation before you, they needed a garage to do so. All you need is the cheapest desk from IKEA. So thank you very much. Make sure you follow me on LinkedIn, thesolo.io, and Moonlearning. Thanks so much for your attention. I'm not sure how I'm doing with time.
Christine. Make sure, everyone, to check out Moonlearning and get the book. I'm already getting questions if the book is available in German as well.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'm going to sit down, actually. It's more comfy.
Is the book in German? Do you also have a German copy of the book?
No, I don't have it in German, but I can translate it for you with my tools.
We translate it in German,
I translate it in German for you, no problem.
So we do have another 3 minutes. I'm going to take some time and ask you some questions. Great. People were interested on how to not lose interest on finishing a started project. Myself, when starting a small side project, I lost interest on finishing.
I don't know. I think I just really like the project. Like I like digging into technology and learning about it myself. And I also think when you put it out there and you get feedback, and I also try to do different things like talks or conferences, and then suddenly you have a mix. And that is for me to just find a mix, not always doing the same, like articles, conferences, videos, mixing it.
Okay, so switching it up.
Yeah, for me, that was how it worked.
What one piece of advice would you give someone who is at square one?
To really just get started. Make the simplest thing you can think of and put it online. Because once you build and you're having all these plans and ideas and strategies, it's such a big thing. Just build something really small, simple, put it out there and see what happens.
This question you're going to love. Do you have a next big step in mind in your dreams?
Do I? I actually had the pretty cheap houses. I'm really excited about that because it involves technology I don't know yet, so I have to learn it, and I really like that. And I also, I'm really into architecture and all of that. So whenever I look at houses, I can't afford them. So it's really cool to searching them. And people really liked it and have the same problem. So I'm really excited about that.
Nice. And how do you avoid burning out while juggling so many different roles?
I think it's the most relaxed I've ever been in my life, because I felt way more stressed when there was a client and expectations, because I don't know, I make it on my own time, but I think in the end it's that you have to find that. But I think if you find a way of working that you enjoy, then you don't burn out. But maybe ask me in 5 years, I don't know where I'm then. So okay. Right now I'm fine.
Okay, and I think the tools that you daily use, because people were asking, you've already shared them, right? Or is there anything else that people should keep in mind?
Yeah, they're all, there's more, the tools, and in the book I obviously go into way more detail, all the tools, the different digital products you could build, what you could build them, so it's very practical.
Okay, fantastic. And maybe one last question. How much of your time do you invest in finding new projects and customers?
So I'm actually, with Moonlearning, I'm pretty busy because Figma every year, so last week at Config, the updates come out, so I have to stay there. And I also noticed as soon as after a few months, if you don't look after it, it does drop. So you have to enjoy writing articles, content, but as it's about technology, there's always something new anyways.
Okay. Perfect. Well, very inspiring. Thank you so much for being here. Christine Vallaure, big applause. Und wir machen hier gleich weiter auf Deutsch, back to German.